Morrison, and this is This Week in Car Audio. Tune in. This Week in Car Audio. Tune in. We'll be talking about bass, talking about chips, talking about rings. You ain't got them, zip your lip. You got a problem you haven't found, check your grounds. The show about to start. Tune in. This Week in Car Audio. Yeah. Tune in. This Week in Car Audio.
Welcome to This Week in Car Audio with your host, the Judge, Doug Stockton, and co-host, internet and TV sensation. He's been really becoming an internet sensation lately, going live.
Have I?
Mr. Jeffrey Fernandez. How's it going, Jeff?
Good. How you doing, Doug?
Oh, just fine. Did a little show this Saturday. I saw you had a little show this weekend, too. Is that 2 shows?
No, just on Saturday night.
All right, and I saw a little something happening there. What happened there?
Oh, it was a triple point event. So, a lot of the heavy hitters came out, try to get some records. We had Nathan Milliard, or also known as D.D. Tank, from, I think, just south of me, in South Texas, somewhere abouts, came up and he was looking to crush his old record that he set last month at the Triple Point event, and he did just that. So he did 160.1 average for a whole minute for a Cyclone Demo Extreme. Then he got the new world record, which is 220.1 points in Cyclone Demo Extreme. That's loud.
Very cool. And real quick, as we're starting this up, we're going to mention our sponsors again this week. Right below me, I have Stolman Transport LLC. Remember, you guys have a couple more weeks. If you get a transport from him, doesn't matter where you are in the country, he will come and do the transport. 10% of that will go to our West Coast Finale Prize Fund. And right below Jeffrey there, we got Lots of Watts. So if you buy anything Lots of Watts, he's going to donate $5 of that to the West Coast Finale Prize Fund also. So remember to support those who support us. So right below us. And a big shout out to last week. Who was on last week?
Chris Norris.
Norass.
How can you
Mr.
forget?
Norass, yes. Because, dude, I do so many things. I have 4 companies. I run a 5th. I'm a little scatterbrained sometimes. Anyway, Mr. Norass, he shot us some money to help with the cause. Paid for most of our internet, or not the internet, but the Zoom call. So now we aren't going to get kicked off early.
Funny thing, there was a Chemo who had commented on the video, and he put something like, what is it, to stay on this Zoom call, please deposit 25 more cents. And I'm like, man, some of the younger guys don't know what that's about, and I kind of had to explain it to people, but I thought that was funny about last week.
Yes. Back in the days, you used to compete no wall. You set a record back in your time, got a world championship, hence the something or others like this. Anyway, and that was all no wall. But before you were doing that, our guest this week, Mr. William Collier, he was Mr. No Wall himself. He's even wearing his jersey. It says Mr. No Wall's right there on it.
Yeah.
How's it going, Mr. No Walls, Mr. William?
It's going pretty good, man. Living the dream.
So for people that don't know you, part of what we're doing right here is we're giving people an opportunity to meet some of the guys that are going to be at the old school meetup. And, so people understand why we're inviting you, and, what your place or your in the history of DB Drag. I mean, we're 25 years into this now, so we were doing this a long time. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your history in the competition and DB Drag scene?
My first DB Drag show I ever went to would probably be 96, when did Alma first bring her Bronco out? 96 or 97?
Yeah, I think I'm with you. It's either 96 or 97. I don't remember.
That in South Carolina, I think it was Greenville, South Carolina, or something like
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
That was one of the first shows I'd ever been to. I took my car up there, big show, and
Okay.
obviously didn't do well. I mean, I was, had no clue what I was doing at that point in time. But that was one of the first shows I'd ever been to. Big show.
Mm-hmm.
And then just kind of went from there, and Nopi Nationals. And that's where the first time I met Gorman was at a Nopi National. And we lived in the same city and didn't even know it at that time. So,
Okay. Well, I mean, you guys have the same funny accent.
Well, yeah, we got an Alabama accent. Luckily, I don't live in Alabama anymore. I live in Georgia now. So it might be even worse. I don't know yet. So,
yeah.
But, and then, come up, and I kind of the same way a lot of people do with DB when they get into SPL. I built my car originally for a sound quality car and went to a couple of sound quality shows and realized it was boring. And most sound quality guys were either weird or jerks.
Yep.
So I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Let me go do something else. And I still wanted to compete, so I had to figure something out.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of where it came into the DB drag and SPL side of it.
Okay.
Plus,
what was the vehicle?
Don't lie.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what was the vehicle? What kind of equipment did you start with?
My first car I ever built was a 91 two-door Cavalier that had 1215s in it.
All right, so you're talking a sedan in a fairly
sedan car,
a mid-size sedan, right? They call them mid-size nowadays.
That I crammed as many 15s as I could in it.
And how many was that?
Wow.
12.
How many? 4?
12.
Oh, 12. 12 15s in a Cavalier. Yes. So were you clamshelled or what were you?
Two big clamshells, and then 2 right behind the seat. So 2 big diamonds, basically.
All right, and then what were you running for power? How much power?
It was all at that time was MTX.
MTX, the 8100s.
Well, no, at that time it was the 2150s.
Oh, okay. So after the
8100s,
or before,
because it was the 2150s and 2300s.
Okay.
That was the way before.
That was the ways.
Yeah, that was the black amps, right? They were black with the gold lettering. Yeah.
Yep. And they had some of those in it, and then that car got kind of retired, and I kind of went around. I bought a Toyota truck after that, and had 318s in it.
Okay, and then so obviously you were in Super Street 5 Plus to start. No Walls came out about what 2002-ish.
2 or 3, somewhere along in there.
Yep. And so when that came out, that's were you in it in the first year or?
No, it wasn't in the first year. I think when I finally got back to competing, we got sponsored by MTX, and Scott Harris at that time he ran the team. Okay. And he tried to put me in street class because I had a CRX.
Why would a CRX be in street class?
Right. And I absolutely was awful at it. It was terrible. I blew up everything I touched. And I just didn't, because I wasn't that tweaker person that would just tweak it and play with it and move the enclosure an inch, test it, move this, and then I was like, man, I can't do this no more. I got to do something else. Let's try it. Let's do something else. And then that's when I bought the van. I actually bought that Caravan from Scotty Johnson. Scotty Johnson, one of his guys. He built it for one of his guys back then. And I ended up going up there and buying it from him. Primer gray, ugly as it could be.
Okay.
And that's when kind of I got involved with No Wall and started playing with it. So.
All right.
So that was probably that had to have been 03, 04, somewhere 03.
Okay. You didn't run RE or any of that at any time?
Not at that time because I was sponsored by MTX. So we all had RFLs.
Okay.
And that the A100.
So you did run RE at one time, right? Yep. So if memory serves me correctly, I may have screwed you out of a round at World Finals because you may have switched woofers in between rounds.
Yes, that would have been 04. Okay. So what happened there was here's the backstory on that.
All right.
All right. So obviously, we all know RFLs what they did. I actually did. I still have. I may have still had RFLs at that time, but so I was in the final round with. It had to been the Rileys when they had their no wall ban because they won that year. And obviously, I broke subs. I broke everything.
Yes.
And it was either go into the final round and just sit there and stare at the meter for 30 seconds or put something in there that would play.
Right.
It didn't gain anything, to do anything.
Okay.
Unbeknownst to me, you can swap subs, but you have to keep the same coil at that time, if I remember correctly.
You had to keep the same make and model. Because Mike Anke was handing out subs the year before, and he wasn't paying for sponsorship.
Gotcha.
And so he was taking advantage of our venue and not participating with some of the costs.
Okay. So in any event, basically what happened was we went up there. I still lost.
Dave Montgomery says it was Jason Myers. Meyer. Yeah.
So it didn't lose anything. It didn't gain anything. It just... I figured it would be a better situation to put on a good something, a showing in the final round. Obviously, that wasn't the case. So they had a big meeting. Y'all had a big meeting. It was a big to do, and then it was everybody come out and was like, "All right, we're just gonna DQ him," and then it basically put me in 8th and moved everyone up a spot or something like that.
Yeah, I felt so bad for doing that. But
at the time, my argument was, would you, why would you do it this way? Would you rather me have a showing, blah, blah, blah. It didn't change anything. It's not like I beat or lost or anything. It didn't beat anything.
Right.
But rules are rules.
Right.
And
I think that was our ruling when we came back to you, right? Was the rules are very clear. Here they are in black and white, and you violate.
The issue I had with it the whole time was, I guess, that y'all got all the competitors together.
Yes, we did.
And
everybody in your class.
Correct. Everybody sat and talked about it and everything else. What was the best thing to do? And the issue I had, I think, I was more mad about was because there were some competitors that come up to me and said, it doesn't matter. It didn't change anything. It didn't do this. It didn't do that.
Right.
Well, then come to find out, those exact same competitors were the ones that were lobbying for me to be DQ because it moved them a spot up.
And honestly, so for people that don't know, I mean, Jeffrey can speak to this. Our intention at World Finals is never, ever to DQ somebody. We don't ever want to DQ somebody. And we're going to go every avenue we can before we get to that point. And I believe in truly, and I know you were very upset. And I even told Jeffrey before this interview, I go, I'm not going to say nothing to William until he comes on the show, because then he ain't going to come on if he remembers that I'm the one.
I said, don't bring it up. Don't bring it up, Doug.
Because Steve Benton was involved in it when he was in this in DPJ. He was involved in it. He was the one, because me and him were pretty close friends. He would come to me about, look, he was the one that really helped me with things. He's like, they're going to DQ. He's the one that calmed me down, because I was pretty pissed.
Oh, yeah.
Because I actually didn't go to trophies.
Oh, no, that's right.
I ended up staying at the hotel, and I regret not going to the hotel. I'm not going to trophies. That's one thing I do regret. I should have went to the trophies and just dealt with it. But I was pretty aggravated at that time.
Well,
I was a hothead back then. So.
You guys have to understand, for people that haven't been to World Finals or are even considering it, look at the time that you spent, because back then it was a points-driven thing to get the World Finals.
Correct.
So you had to get a crap ton of points for one. So in Williams' defense, I'll say, he did all this time, all this money of going to these big shows, going to all these shows to get the points, then to get his vehicle to World Finals, get a hotel, transportation, food, blah, 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 all that stuff, and then not be able to compete. That,
right.
I mean,
it did go into the final round, so I competed, and that was my mistake. I should have went and talked and should have put more effort into it.
And to be honest, I wouldn't even have caught it, except for at that time I was manufacturing subwoofers under Sonic FX, and I was helping another couple companies do OEM stuff, and so I was hypersensitive to what subwoofers were in the vehicles.
Of course.
And like I said, and if that weren't the case, I may not have even noticed, to be honest.
Yeah, I
with
mean,
you,
and it's one of those things that I made the mistake of not really reading the rule book, not really know what was going on, and just thinking of the big picture as far as a final round. It needs to have a show. It doesn't need to have one of the vans roll up and it does nothing.
Right.
And that's when I looked at when we were all talking, even Wayne, when I said, "Would you rather had a final round with nothing in it?"
I do remember that exactly coming from you. I absolutely do remember.
Would you rather me just stand there and just be like, "Hey, congratulations, you win"? I mean, so
right.
Because at the end of the day, we try to draw in people because it's a show.
That's correct.
That's why we had all the lanes. We had the lights. It's a show, so you want to have fun. It is what it is. So, the only thing that and David Montgomery can say that, he goes, and when we left after that finals, that time, me and David sat and talked, and I was like, man, I was aggravated. He goes, and he said he seen something that flipped. It was like, all right, I won't lose again.
Oh yeah.
So that's where it flipped, and it was like, it's time to start getting. Now it's time to really make this thing loud. Mm-hmm. So that's where that change came in at.
And so, what was your max loudness that you ever achieved? And
at that time, I got a 63.6 out of as loud as I could get out of
that. And that was with the new sensors.
Right, the new sensors.
Yes, at the time they were new.
Non-quad coil, so it was just dual voice coil, 4 amps,
2 subs.
Yeah, 2 subs.
Many batteries as you can fit without taking up airspace.
Right, and also the other thing that happened was I cut the floor out of that van and sunk all the batteries into the floor.
Yeah.
That year.
Yep. And
next
then what
year
happened?
They changed the rules because of Alan Riley's van.
Yes.
So I had to fix that, bring it all back into the van. Mm-hmm. So, and that's when I went with PowerMaster batteries and increment. Then I got connected with Incriminator with Nick and them. Mm-hmm. And then I started running RE subs at that time. I went away from MTX because MTX dissolved the team around that time.
Yeah, prior to that, they were big supporters of DB Drag, and then at that, I believe that was the last year, and then they made a corporate decision to step away from DB Drag.
They got rid of pretty much the whole team.
Yes,
they got rid of everyone. So that's when I kind of went a different direction with Nick, because when I lived in Alabama, Nick was like 2 hours from me.
Right.
And then I got connected with David Moore and Scott Atwell with RE at the Spring Break Nationals the next year.
Okay.
We talked. Actually, Sean Fleming is the one that connected me with them at that time.
Yep.
And we sat and talked a little while, and they're like, we'll take care of you. We'll do a sponsorship. We'll do whatever. And I told him, I said, and my exact words to him was, I said, look, I'm going to tear up speakers. I'm going to break a lot of stuff, but when I'm done, it's going to be loud. And they're like, all right, whatever. They were shipping me 30 or 40 recons at a time.
Oh, yeah. Wow. We talked about David Moore on here more than once about how at finals, I don't think David's been to a finals that he's actually saw the finals. He just he just sits in there, recon woofers, reconing woofers, boss, reconing the woofers,
Not at all. I mean, it was always just set up in a corner somewhere and just recon subs.
Yep.
So that was when I had the van painted. I had a bunch of other stuff done to it and fixed a bunch of stuff and changed stuff on it. And that's when it's kind of started growing and getting louder and louder.
Okay. So before we get into your favorite show and this and that stuff, I want to sit back and let Jeffrey and you talk about no-wall vehicles. What did you find building them and stuff like that? So go, Jeff. Let's talk about some no-wall vehicles, and let's see if we can't make some other people louder around here.
I've probably forgotten more than I've ever learned, but so I couldn't really say too much. But I want to hear what William has to say. Let's have him go first.
The no-wall whole thing now is completely changed when it comes to these guys.
Oh yeah.
Trucks.
Yeah.
And, the first guy that ever did a truck that way, I hate to say it, but we'll go back
Danny
to
Hayes.
Demuth.
Oh, Demuth
had a truck back in the day like that.
Yeah.
But his wasn't.
That was back in the 90s, though.
Right, but his wasn't a bandpass. It
Right.
was just a basic flat wall. And then we all went into the caravans and this and that.
Right.
The no wall stuff was a pain in the ass, is what it was, especially with the vans. It was a pain in the butt. Plain and simple.
Yep.
You know, because the box could only be so big. You could only go so far back. You couldn't break. You couldn't. Everybody's like, oh, don't mess with the wheel wells. Don't do this. Don't do that. Now you can do whatever the hell you want to. I mean, you can cut anything and add as much sound deadening as you want. I mean, it's anything and everything. So, and everybody.
Well, back when we were doing it, it was like 1 to 2 woofers. That was it.
Right.
Now you got
woofers, 2 layers of sound deadening.
Yeah.
Couldn't come up above
window line.
And then with the caravans, you had to be careful because it pitched almost at 3/4 of an inch or more. So if you build a certain square enclosure, it would sit a certain angle and it wouldn't pass window line.
Yeah.
So you had to be a certain way of building it. And I tried every trick in the book to try to make it louder. And it got to a point where, and I don't know if it was the RE woofers getting to a point where they weren't getting any louder, because you could dump as much power into it as you want. It just would not get any louder.
Yep, that's called power compression for the people that don't understand. Your woofers just don't move anymore.
Right.
So, and then that becomes power compression, and that's when you go to stiffer spiders typically. So I'm sure you were probably already at like 4 spiders or something like that.
4 or 5. I mean, at that time, I would just tell David to build me a certain couple different ones and let's play around with it. You know, that was when people really get new into changing spiders and doing this and doing that. One good advantage that a lot of us had was we all ran the same sub between the 3 of us that competed together, which was Gorman and David Montgomery and me.
Okay.
That was before me and David ran the same subs. Gorman ran
FI.
sub. No, it wasn't FI. It was
T3.
He was running T3, right?
Yeah, because that's where we were all getting our motors from at that time, right? So Sonic FX was getting their motors, Incriminator was getting their motors. Was it called RE, FI? Right. We were all getting our motors from that same place, right? So,
so everything. Back then, everybody was just playing, trying to figure out all the stuff that we were doing then. A lot of people are still doing now, but now you see some of these guys are stacking spiders as big as they can stack them on there, and I'm just like, y'all are crazy. I mean, it's just insane.
But I mean, can you imagine if you could have put 20,000 watts of coil to a quad coil back then? I mean,
holy crap!
That's insane amount of power is available nowadays that wasn't available then.
Right.
Right.
I mean, when I got my last year, I used the 40.1,
which is a 4,000 watt amp for people who don't know.
And the most I could get out of it strapped was around 12 to 14 was the most I could get out of it.
Right. And that was a cutting edge amp at the time.
Yeah, at that time was real strong.
Yes.
And with 30 excess power batteries, it never dropped voltage. I could hit it 5 or 6 times and never have to recharge.
Okay.
Did you run an alternator, or were you just charging batteries?
I had 2 dual power. At that time was excess power.
Right.
Alternators with custom brackets with switches that would flip between 12 volts and 16 volts and all that stuff. I actually sent that van to Tennessee with a guy named Coy. He built all the custom aluminum brackets, and it was up at his place for like 4 or 5 months before 1 year. I never used them. I never turned them on. Never had to. The batteries were just so much current with 30 of them that was in there, just never had to use them.
So can you imagine the extra room you'd have nowadays if you could go to lithium?
With lithium, right?
Dude, and you could run 15.6, 15.8 on the lithium battery, and it won't even drop a tenth of a volt, or maybe a tenth.
I'm around when Gorman had his Astro last year. I'd go by there. I would stop by there and see it or go to shows. I'm like, where was all this room 15 years ago? I mean, we had it stacked to the back where you barely fit anything in, and you're having to swing out racks to be able to service anything.
Right.
Now you're back there, and you can hang out back there and lay down and do whatever you want. I mean, it's insane.
Yep. And one of the keys to no walls, which I know Jeffrey knows, and I'm sure you do also, was to create as much room as you can behind the box. That little pocket back there added length to the sine wave is my theory on what was going on there. So it was adding length to the sine wave so that you can get a full sine wave, and using quarter wave theory, good Lord, you can make it so much louder. But when you put the amps and the battery stacked behind it, the higher you went, the lower your score went. So it was a delicate balancing act on how high you can go and not lose power.
When I dropped everything into because that's what everybody was like, okay, let's cut the whole floor out, put all the batteries in there and bring it up. I gained nothing. It changed nothing in that.
Really?
Only thing it changed was the frequency a little bit, but SPO-wise was nothing. So I was like, all this work was for nothing. So
maybe it was too much room.
Yeah, I mean, so then when they changed it and I had to bring everything back up, I just filled it in, welded everything back up, and dropped everything up, put everything high, and I never seen a difference.
Okay.
Never seen it in any of that. So,
right.
I was more worried about what was going on in the cab. That's all I cared about. I didn't care. Everybody was like, you got to worry about what's going on behind this and behind that. None of that. All I could do was control what was in the enclosure and how it was in the cab. That's all we cared about.
So since you're 15 years removed-ish, did you find anything in particular that may have helped with the score that somebody watching right now that they may not have thought about?
I mean, I think what we really figured out was that the angle walls inside the enclosures. A lot of people were doing angle walls inside of enclosures, and then
we used to call them a whammy board.
Right. When people started going to that real thick baffle with just layering MDF, layered MDF, layering MDF, basically you're building the baffle as strong as you can. I think the baffle in that Caravan at one time was 9 inches thick or something like that.
Wow.
And then you just work with the back wall and just move the back wall. That's where we were tearing subs up so much, because we were just tinkering with things, moving things by half inch, 2 inch. I mean, just 3/4 of an inch here, 3/4 of an inch there, and moving different things. And then, because you couldn't do anything with a cab back then, it was sound deadening, 2 layers, and then that was it.
Your heater box had to be in, your visors had to be in, your ducts had to be open, the whole deal. So it wasn't, you weren't taping off your your AC.
No, I mean, and then spray foam, you had to have, you couldn't use it unlimited spray foam. You couldn't do this, you couldn't do that.
Yep.
I think 2 years ago when I went to finals, I seen everybody with all the unlimited down deadening, unlimited this. I'm like, give me that. Let me have that. Let me take that back 15 years. I mean, because you just couldn't do that back then. I mean, if they seen some spray foam, they would lose your mind. They would lose their mind.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. Were you at the Oklahoma World Finals?
No.
Okay, so at the Oklahoma World Finals, Cactus Sounds, I believe, they shipped a vehicle over here to compete, and dude, I looked in the vents and they filled them up with spray foam. I'm like, wow. You can't do that. And I don't like to go tour on people or nothing, but so I was like, hey, dude, you need to pull that out. So I came back. They took a Sharpie and colored it all black. And I was like,
no,
dude, it's still there.
It's still there.
The funny thing you say that the whole string line, the passing the string test. I think that first year at finals was the first year I had it when I got DQ'd. I had to move the enclosure.
That would have been 05.
I had to move the enclosure because it barely touched the string. I had to take all the woofers out, unbolt it, and shift it back like a 1/16 of an inch so it would not hit string test at finals.
Yep.
So, I mean, I feel like, the judging, I don't keep up with all the judging and stuff like that, but I see some stuff when I go to shows. I'm like, this is crazy, some of the stuff I see.
Yep. No. And I mean, I've mentioned this on the show, and it's no disrespect to any of the other judges, but like Ray and Jeffrey are about as thorough of a judge as you guys could possibly have at an event. We've been pretty successful, people coming from California and competing at World Finals and not finding issues with their vehicles unless they didn't listen to what I have to say or they listened and heard. They may have heard what they wanted to hear from what I said.
What they wanted
right.
to
I mean,
hear.
you got to think when as a competitor, everybody knows when you call a judge and say, "Hey, this is what I'm thinking." Here, because that's what Steve Bent was to us. We would call Steve like, "Hey,
right.
I think I want to try this." He's like, "Well, technically, this is what it would be, but I can't tell you how to not do it." You know what I'm saying? He would just kind of give us a gray area, and we would just try to stretch that gray area as far as we could stretch it. But at the end of the day, I never were, and even with Gorman's vans and Dave Montgomery's vans, we never tried to stretch it. We just we would build it to spec. We'd build it as big as we could build it, build the cab the way it was supposed to, and just work with it.
Yeah.
Throw power at it.
It was really, you were trying to work the box.
Correct.
Right.
I mean, that's all you can do when it was a super street vehicle, because you didn't have, once you get the cabin done the way it's supposed to be to spec, when you get everything else done the way it's supposed to be, all you have is the enclosure and power.
Yep.
So,
and runs a wire.
Right. And
lots,
you manipulate that.
And lots of runs a wire.
Right. So, that's just how we looked at it. We were never I never cared about trying to stretch rules to a point, but I mean, even like to some of the stuff that would come up with, it was weird because I asked Steve one time, obviously I was sponsored by MTX at the time. I said, "Hey, I have this big MTX banner. I want to glue it to my floor just as sponsorships." Right. He was like, "You can't do that." I'm like, "Why? It's not carpet. It's not this." I'm like, it's like paper thin.
It's thinner. Thin.
Right.
It's not going to do anything. He goes, "No, you can't."
Doesn't matter.
Like, seriously. I mean, it's just some of those weird things that judging would be like, so.
Yep. Rob Collier calls me for stuff like that. As a matter of fact, I got him watching. We got Steven Talbot, Justin Stolman, Ricky Garcia, Rob Mario watching. Lucky McGovern, the old host, is watching back with us. Dave Montgomery's obviously watching. RP's watching with us too. He thinks it's funny talking to me about rules. Craig Simpler, Cami Cha, Brandy Cord.
I worked with Craig for a long time in Montgomery.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. You got Bo Boren in there. You got Emran. Oh man, you got Tiffany Paris and her husband Tristan out of Barbados watching today. Obviously, David Montgomery, Adam Leon, and Nick Semino. And so anyway, he says a lot of people trying to work within the gray areas, making things happen.
I think that's just how it is now. Everybody's trying to work and then getting it. And the other side of it, I see a lot of guys now are everything is steel. I mean, they're building everything out of half-inch plate steel. Well, I can't weld. So I can't weld. So I'm just out of luck when it comes to building a vehicle now. So I guess that's why I would have to call Bo and have him live with me for 6 months.
Dude, that boy burns some metal, doesn't he? You just go on his Facebook feed and dude, he's always burning metal.
Oh yeah. So that's the only way I could build another vehicle is if he come and just weld it. I just drop it on like weld it.
I'll see you in a month.
Right. So that's pretty much how it is. So, it's definitely different now. Everything's different, and I think people have adapted pretty well with it. Gorman and them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's an evolution, right? I mean, like the lithium went from how the battery systems used to go, and
from yellow tops to the
way back then.
To what was it? Yellow tops, and then we went to train batteries, right? People were starting to run.
You had 8 volt. You had 8 volt
golf cart batteries.
Golf cart batteries. Yeah.
Yep. And then we went
16.
Yep. And then we went to stuff like back caps, and then now we're all the way up to lithium, right? And we're on generation 2 of lithium too. We're not even on generation 1 of lithium. Bo Boren says, "Willie, I bought you a set of lifts for your shoes, guaranteed to add 2 inches to your height." It's actually 2.4 inches. It's actually 2.4 inches because I've been watching those ads on my Facebook.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And like when Tommy go back, I'm circling back around. When Tommy was on the show the other day, he had mentioned with us, he'd come up through past because a lot of the Florida boys would come up and hang out with us before finals.
Okay.
A lot of them would do that. So you would when he mentioned that, it kind of brought back memories of like Mike Langford would come up and hang out with us, and Robbie Shore,
probably Step Harris, and
a couple of those guys. They
Pippo
just all passed.
Sanchez.
You passed right by our area to go into Nashville.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of them would come up and hang out and before finals. So it was kind of one of those deals where we all just hung out and helped each other to a point.
Right.
So I do miss that side of competing, hanging out and having fun with people. The late nights and all that crap, you can keep it all. I don't want nothing to do with it. So,
I mean, you've done your share of those, right? So
yeah.
So what is your favorite show that you've ever participated in?
Well, I mean, it would probably be. I mean, it would have to be. Well, you would arguably say 06 because when was it? 06 was Cleveland, Ohio.
I believe that's right. Yeah, I believe you're
That's
correct.
the year I won DV Drag. That would probably be because I won. Okay. As far as everything else involved with that show was terrible. That show was awful.
It was not the easiest place to get to. You were so far from everything when we were at the events. But I wanted to say Sam Horn's the one who got the location. And it actually, when you were inside the building, it was actually pretty good other than the fire marshal with his, you can't run your vehicles. You got to have these fans going. Those were some of the issues we dealt with. But yes, as you got to understand also, we went from Nashville to that.
Right.
And you're talking Nashville, you walk out of the convention center, you make a left, and there's 4th Street.
Correct.
Yeah.
To now we're out in a hangar by the airport. So, I mean,
that show, I think it was like 19 hours for us to get up there or something like that. It was insane. So,
and in winter, right?
Right. I mean, it was all right, but I would have to say one of my best shows, the most fun, would have probably had to been Steve Cook used to put on some shows in Florence, Alabama.
Oh,
when he was competing big. He would have big shows and everybody would come to him.
Okay.
This is 03, 04, because I had my Toyota at that time. So those shows, we always had so much fun because people would come from all over the place to those shows. And those were 02, 03, somewhere along in there. Spring Break National was always fun for us because it was kind of one of those just fun shows to go and do. But we killed ourselves to get there. That was the problem. That was the problem with a lot of us. We just worked until 5 a.m. There were times where I'd work all night long. I lived 5 minutes from the shop. So I would work, go home, take a shower, and come open the store. Because I worked at a stereo shop, so that's what I did. So, I don't know how we did it. None of us know how we did it. I don't know how we did it.
So I used to drive out. Whoa.
Whoa.
Is that you, Jeffrey? Your dog is unhappy.
Yeah, it must be my beagle. I don't know. It's like
mine are asleep.
cat outside.
I'm surprised.
Mama must be home. All right. So I understand that. That was the kickoff show of the year was SBN, right? So people travel literally from all over the country to that event, and that's what made it so great is the gathering of like-minded people.
Yep.
And
that show was huge in
in the
early 2000s. It was the last year I went was 07. There was still, probably 70, 80 competitors there in different classes, if not more.
Yeah. It was one of the first ones that were multiple organizations and, so, it was definitely a driven event that was, but the thing was, you get people that would come from California to SBN. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, so you were talking, it was a big show. It was a big deal. So how about some World Finals memories that you might have that you're kind of looking forward to? Because are you looking forward to doing this meetup at World Finals?
I am. I think it's gonna be fun.
Certain people you're looking to see, or some memories that might be brought up, and some alcohol.
There's
that may
gonna be a lot of
consumed.
memories that come up. As far as the final side of things, for me, it's just being around my friends that I hadn't, because once I moved from Alabama, I hadn't been around a lot of the friends. I don't hang out with them much because when I go home, I'm with family, things like that. So I'll get to see David Gorman, even Bo and some Nick and all them. So I get to hang out with all those guys. And then I'm excited to see Tommy. I hadn't seen him in probably 6-8 years.
Okay.
Just seeing some of those people that we can hang out with and have fun, because we've all had fun together. We've all done some weird and crazy things together.
Oh, yeah. So let's hear some of them.
I don't think this is safe for some people. I don't think some people probably don't want us. All right, I got one for even one of the Steve Cook shows.
Okay.
Me and Dave Montgomery were notorious when we would hang out, have fun, and we'd start drinking, obviously. Well, then we would get into situations where we would like to slap each other.
Like in the face,
outside,
or?
Yes, in the face.
In the face. Okay.
Hey, Steve Benton's watching right now.
So
nice.
You can ask Tommy about this next time you see him. Just ask him about the Waffle House in Florence, Alabama, when the police got called on us because me and Dave were out front messing around, slapping each other in the face.
Okay.
Oh, and other people called the cops.
The police on us, thinking that we were fighting, and we were just playing.
Yeah. And for the young kids, that's before the tortilla challenge.
Yes.
Right.
We would just slap each other in the head for no reason. That's probably why my head hurts a lot lately. So,
and if Steve Benton would ever answer his damn phone and get back to me, we would have him on the show to talk about Midwest SPL and stuff. But all he's got to do is answer his phone, and
come on now, Steve.
That's right.
He says he wants to see you, will he?
Yeah, he wants to see you. All he has to do is come to World Finals, right?
Oh yeah, come on, let's go.
So Solis has some stuff set up. We're gonna have a meet and greet, get together at World Finals for the old school meetup. Obviously, you saw Tommy's bringing CDs and stuff. I mean, because he was a show in himself back then, right?
Yeah, he was entertaining. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah, no, he was very entertaining. Yeah, so Steve Benton there, he says he remembers that story, but he still ain't responded to no phone calls. Just saying. Steve Benton, we've talked about Steve Benton on the last show, how he had his Oklahoma Showdown, right? Okay. Where you guys would go get your points, and you'd have 7 shows in 7 days, ending with a 3X near his house. He says he's a has-been. That's who we're talking to. We're talking to used to be.
We're all has-beens at some point. I mean, trust me, we're all has-beens.
One of the things I remember is right before he stopped doing DB drag shows and moved on and started doing his Midwest SPLs, he had 300 events that he had done. I believe up until about 2 years ago, Steve Benton is the only person in the world that has done more DB drag shows than I have. And it took me, a lot of years to catch up to him.
I mean, he was putting on shows all over the place. I give it to him. He's a promoter.
Oh, he is.
He promotes it.
Yeah,
he's a promoter.
He started Midwest SPL, and from what I've seen, it's been fairly successful.
Yeah, it's been very successful. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I just catch it here and there, whatnot, So, 9 shows in 9 days is what Steve said for the Oklahoma Showdown, and it culminated with a 3X at the end of the show. At the end of the event, and it was the last day of World Final to get points. Yeah, so you could literally go to that Oklahoma Showdown and get all the points you needed for the whole year to compete at World Finals.
Got you. Okay.
So that was Steve's big thing. I thought it was an awesome idea. We actually did it.
I think that's a good idea. I mean, you just kind of just knock it out and get it over with and be done with it. And I think it drives people to strive for something and get something. Really want to push towards something.
Yeah, I think you got to have the following too to do something like that, because 9 shows, 9 days. I mean, we don't even do that now, and it's been years and years and years since that happened, and maybe we just don't know the right formula that Steve knows. But that's
well, the difference was it was points driven back then for World Finals, and now it's not as points driven. So you as long as you get your shows in, then you go to World Finals. Where you may have had 10 shows, but unless you were top 15 in points for the year, you didn't go to World Finals. And we used to fill the classes at that time literally 15 people in every class. Now, we only had like 8 classes or 9 classes at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, a much smaller amount of classes. Now we're up to, 19 or 21 classes.
See, I can't keep up with all the classes. It's insane. Y'all have that. DB-Drag has that many classes. It is. Yeah. It's insane.
Well, maybe it's something for you to look into again because
there's a
I struggle with running my own business and trying to keep up with a 4.5-year-old. So first things first, do not have a kid at 40 years old.
Oh, wow.
It's not fun. I love that kid to death, but I'm tired all the time.
You're always tired. So what is your business?
I own a GPS and camera installation company.
Wow, have you been hanging out with
Sam Horn?
Sam Horn lately, or what?
No,
Steve Nick, I think.
I don't do the. Where's he work at?
I think he was doing like school buses. Wasn't he doing school buses?
School buses, but he works for.
He used to work for StructureNet. Now he's working for somebody else. So,
yeah,
but
so
he's
he
doing
does
the
stuff
same
like
thing.
That to a point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's doing this. He's doing that still, but he travels the country and just does buses, and he hires local help at each location. And basically, he calls up the stereo shops and says, "Hey, I'm looking for your best."
Well, that's kind of what we do. I do to a point. I mean, I've done cameras and buses and big trucks and different things like that. So, but that's kind of what I've been doing for the last. I think it's been 4 years. I left an audio shop because I just got tired of retail.
Yeah.
And thought that I could go out and open my own business and have fun and things like that and control my own life, but that's not how it works. The business runs your life, so.
It does, yeah. You marry your business when you start.
It is, but I wouldn't take it back for anything because retail audio is terrible. It always has been.
Like now, I mean, imagine now you got like online retailers
that you're fighting with, yeah.
That you're fighting with, so wow.
Somebody walks into your retail shop. Yeah, but on Amazon right here, it's only $400. Why are you charging me $6?
Yeah. Why is your hourly rate $109 an hour?
Right.
Because it just is. I don't know what to tell you. It is.
You can bring me that woofer, but I'm going to charge you $300 to install it.
Right. So I went out and did that about 4 years ago, and it's been pretty well. I mean, I do okay. I mean, I do pretty well. I mean, I can't complain. So I'm too busy. I got more work than I can handle right now, so I guess it's all right.
That's not a bad thing.
So
I do have a question. So where did Mr. No Wall come from?
That actually comes from Nick.
Okay.
With Incriminator.
With Incriminator. Okay.
I'm almost positive it came from him. And I actually did not. I didn't want that. I didn't want anything like that. I'm just not that person to be like, all right, I can be outspoken. I can be a jerk sometimes, but actually, I didn't want to do this. My wife was like, you should do it. And even David Montgomery was like, you should do it. I didn't want to do this because I'm just not that person. I'm just not that. I don't go boast about myself and things like that. Right. But once I start talking, it's fun. It's enjoyable.
Right.
Because now I'm bringing up memories of things we did and having fun. Mm-hmm. So it is actually a good time, So, but Nick's the one that brought it up to me. He came up with Mr. Noah. He made the shirt and all that. So, it was interesting at that time.
Speaking of the shirts, someone else had mentioned that they were going to go to the old school meetup and then wear their old jerseys, from back in the day. And I was like, that's awesome idea. That'd be so good. You see all the old brands and, like, hey, I didn't remember this guy used to run this. And
it's actually a pretty good idea. Now I'm gonna have to bring it with me now.
So. You gotta wash it now.
I gotta wash it. Like I said, I hadn't put it on in 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. So you see the cobwebs getting wiped off.
I had to go look for it. I had to go dig through my closet to find it.
Ben still says he has one of your old 20.1s.
Really?
That's what he says right here. He says,
Interesting.
I have one of Willie's old 20.1s.
Okay.
I mean, you could make a base race vehicle with that. Just saying.
Yeah.
No, I can't.
I'm
That's one of the great things, like I said, with the new classes. One of the great things, one of the great things about it is, like, especially base race. You can literally the cost to entry is almost nothing. I mean, a single 10 sealed in the trunk of a car with 1,500 watts, and you can realistically compete in the 29.9 class.
Yeah.
Right, and you can have your daily driver. I mean, Gary Killian was using a Prius for a little while.
A Prius.
Oh, wow.
So he was driving all over the place getting points in a Prius. And I mean, do you know Gary at all?
No.
Oh, so Gary's a big truck kind of guy.
Okay.
I mean, so he's got, was that like an F450 or whatever for, no, it's Excursion.
Excursion.
So he's got the full on Excursion. Then he's got an F450 for his tow vehicle, and then, so I mean, he's a big truck kind of guy, right? And
That's hilarious.
yeah, seeing him driving around, dude, he was so embarrassed when he got the Prius. But then he started posting pictures of, that's right, $7 to fill up.
Exactly.
And he's used to paying $100 to fill up. So
Gotcha.
so he was pretty funny with him doing that. But no, I mean, like I said, so I mean, we got Nick showing up. We got were you ever hanging out with Pippo and Step Harris and those guys too, or?
Yeah, I mean, I know all those guys. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if Pippo's gonna show up to World Finals or not.
Okay.
He originally said he wasn't invited, and I said, dude, there's no way you're not invited.
How's he not invited?
I know.
Exactly.
I mean, he was a problem causer and all, but he was part of what it was, right?
Yeah.
Like him and Tommy McKinney were like, they did the same thing, but they were polar opposites.
Mm-hmm.
Like Tommy was there to show off and welcome people and this and that, and Pippa was more of the, check out me, I'm a badass,
Drinking Bud Light all the time.
Yeah, he's just like, dude, this is what I do, and nobody can do it like me, you know? And that was his thing, where Tommy was more, to me, I got the vibe of, hey, come and be part of what I'm doing,
Right.
But they did the same thing, right? Nick Semino keeps mentioning Frankie Rio, and I probably know him, but I don't.
He's out of Florida. He's out of Florida. He had a van, and
and he helped build, obviously, Tommy McKinney's car, right? Because that was what Tommy talked about a lot. Is thanks to Frankie Rio.
Tommy's van, Tommy's truck.
Yep. And I really remember Tommy's truck. I mean, just the In the Air Tonight was that truck made that song forever in my memory.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Truly.
It was just. I mean, Tommy was just unique. Tommy's just Tommy.
Yeah.
I mean, when you talk about Tommy, Tommy's just Tommy.
Yep.
So.
I mean, I appreciated having him on the show and this and that. We've had Nick on here a few times talking about some of his product and how he got his start and whatnot.
Yeah, I met Nick.
At World Finals, I'm guessing, or Spring Break Nationals.
No, actually, no.
Really?
When we first got involved.
Oh, that's right.
Nick,
You said you were close by him.
Yeah, we're close to him.
That's right.
We met. I think me and Gorman met Nick in Birmingham at a show one time. This is when he first got started.
When he was still a wrestling referee.
What?
He was doing not WWE.
Was it pro
but
wrestling?
It was pro wrestling.
Oh, pro wrestling.
Pro wrestling, yeah.
Yes.
Well, why doesn't that surprise me?
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. So, we met Nick. I mean, when he was still, really, really young and still doing his, just building stuff. And we got a couple subs from him, played with him, and and they just kind of went from there. But, it's amazing to watch Nick, the way his company's grown over the last, 20 years.
Yes.
And he builds an amazing product. And I'm not just boasting because he's a buddy of mine, but the product just speaks for itself. Always has been.
Yep. I would think that not that we're trying to be centric, but we do have a lot of Incriminator guys on here and a lot of DC guys. And I think that's really because of the support that they give into the DB drag community. I think
that's one thing I can say with Nick was, he supports the guys. He's got a core group of guys that he just takes care of and that he's really good about helping. Even on the flip side of just his product's just bulletproof. It's just built well.
Yeah.
there's a lot of companies out there that build some great products.
Right.
But I mean, I've watched it grow and seen it, and he does a very good job.
Yeah, and
they just do amazing work.
He's still a sponsor of DB Drag. He sponsors the champion rings every year.
Okay.
So I think he just signed a 5-year for the championship rings or something like that.
Oh wow, really?
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. That's cool.
Yeah, I think on the show he mentioned something about Solis would ask him every year, and then it just got to the point where he just said, "Hey, Solis, just send me the invoice. Send me the invoice."
Send it here.
that sounds about like with him.
Yeah,
when he comes to shows and stuff like that. He just wants to go and have a good time and support people. And we've always, I was going for the longest time with him and David to Slamology, and then we go to finals, and we just kind of would help him and help do things every year. We'd go to. That's only 2 shows I've been to in the last. Probably 10, 8, 9 years was Slam and finals. That's it.
No,
because he wants us to go with him, and we go up there and we hang out.
Yeah, those are 2 of the biggest shows. So
right.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's just kind of a testament of when you're just starting out competing and stuff like that. Being cool with everybody and talking to people and stuff like that. Kind of introducing yourself and. Because you never know, 5-10 years from now, they're going to be the head of this major audio company, and, they're going to be taking care of you. So it just, it doesn't pay to kind of like burn bridges or have like, just to be like an all around hater to people or stuff like that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So, yeah.
With Nick and him, we're just friends. We call and talk to each other about our kids and family, and so that's just kind of where we're at, and even with, when you get into with Scotty and all those, I still call and talk to Scotty here and there. I mean, so it's just one of those deals. We're just all friends. It's we're all competing. We had fun together, but we're all still just friends.
Yep.
That's one thing you got to bring from this. You have a lot of friends involved because we still talk to each other. We still hang out even after all these years.
Yep, and that's what that's one of the things we really try to promote on this show, and that's why we like to have the guys like you on here and this and that, and just to explain and help people understand that the show is just a part of it.
Right.
World Finals is a part of it. Ultimately, and like I've mentioned here many times too, is we aren't here just to talk about your competition and whatnot. We're here to show who the whole person is, because ultimately from this you're going to gain friends and friendships,
right?
And business acquaintances, whatever. But you're going to be able to meet people and grow with them and have I do know social media has its version of relationships with people, but seeing them face to face and being in the same hobby as them and sharing in their failures at the time or their successes at the time they happen, there's nothing that can match that.
No, by no means. No, yeah. I mean, because we've made lifelong friends coming from these shows.
Right.
I mean, when I talk to people, even that didn't know what I've done in the past and things like that, I'm like, I've been to car shows, I've been all over the Southeast to shows, I've been this, I've done that, records, finals, things like that. And they're like, what are you talking about? What is that? And I show things, they're like, seriously? That's actually kind of cool. I mean, people think it's cool when we talk about people, when you do things like that, we're not just building loud stereos and being silly on the street all the time. So
Tommy just popped in the last minute here. His ears must have been burning. We were talking about him. No, that's awesome.
So one thing I would talk about is for 06, the when I won for 06 finals. A lot of people don't know the story of what happened then.
Okay.
There's actually a pretty cool story, and it comes back to we're speaking about friends and family and things like that. So the 20.1s first come out with Incriminator,
right?
And I was one of the first ones that got them. We started playing with them, and a few things here and there, and that van loaded really, really weird and would kick the amps off. So we finally got it where it would play and be pretty loud. Asked David Montgomery, because he said in it one time when it played at full volume to see what was going on, and it was loud. Well, we finally got it working. We finally got everything done. We drive 19 hours to Ohio. It won't play. I can't get it to play. I can't get it to do anything. I can't get it to. It just freaks out. It does all kind of stuff. So we're sitting there, and I looked at Nick, and I was like, Nick, man, I don't know what to do. We messed around. We tried coils. We tried this. We tried that. I cannot make it play. I was like, what do you want me to do? He goes, I don't know. Well, Terry Jackson. Obviously, Terry Jackson was from Florida. He passed away.
Yeah, well, he was from Vegas, went to Florida.
Yep. So he come up to me, and we're talking. We're hanging out, and he goes, hey, I got amps for you. Do you want amplifiers? I said, I don't know. I said, let me talk to Nick. I said, Nick, what do you want me to do? I said, I'll leave the amps in there, and we're just here. We're having fun. What do you want me to do? He goes, can you win? I said, if I get those amps, I can win. He goes, well, put the amps in there. So Terry Jackson rolls up with a dolly of amplifiers. Me and Gorman sat there for 5 hours, probably going to Home Depot, getting parts because it wasn't right. None of the wires would match up. So we figured things out and figured it out. Finally got it to play. And that's where it would do the 63, 3 or 4. At home, with the 20.1s, it would do a 63, 4 at home.
Same number
At home. When I got to Ohio, it would not play. So it goes back to having friends that help you and get you in situations. I would not have won if it wasn't for Terry.
Right.
And I would not have won also in the final round. On the side of the enclosure, I had barrier strips where I could test everything and switch things around and mess with it.
Okay.
Between all our testing, I forgot to hook the barrier strips back up. We're in the lanes, and Gorman goes,
part of the checklist.
You hooked the barrier strips back up. I said, I'm pretty sure I did not.
Pretty sure.
So we open the side door. They're disconnected. We have no tools with us. We had nothing in our hands to fix it. And somebody handed me a pocket knife. I'm trying to mess with it. Broke their pocket knife. William Coates runs from I don't know where he ran to, because all I seen him run off, and he runs back with a screwdriver within 30 seconds. I've never seen somebody run so fast in my life. We fix it and finally get it to work, and that's when we won. So if it wasn't for Terry Jackson helping me out at that time, and if it wasn't for William Coates running across the whole building to get me a screwdriver to fix something that I screwed up, probably wouldn't have won. Yeah. In the last final 30 seconds before they said go.
Yep. And I will tell you, even when you're in the finals and you're going head to head against somebody, nobody wants to win with a failure.
Right.
They don't want your opponent to fail. That's never ever a want by anybody. I mean, Gary Killian came on and talked about he's got one ring that's a black stone on it because he pulled in there and Craig Butler's failed, and he won a world championship because Craig Butler couldn't turn on his stereo. And, Craig was doing 182s or something. Gary's doing 168s. He's like, dude, I don't even have a hope in hell. He wasn't even going to bow out. And, his group of friends convinced him, hey, just go in there. You never know what happens. And so he made one of his rings is a black ring because, nobody wants to win by default. He's happy he won, but that's not the way he wants to win.
And even in which was the next year for finals, I lost to, I think it was Alan Lackey is who I lost to in the final round.
That's an old name.
And for whatever reason, I had done a 63-3, 63-3, 63-3 final round. I swapped subs, and one of the subs comes apart in the final round. Oof. And it was he beat by 2/10 or something like that, somewhere along in there. That was the time I was like, I don't think I want to do this no more. Wow. And it was my fault because the sub that I put in, I built wrong.
Oh.
When I built the sub,
you didn't put the spacer in there?
It was probably a 2 a.m. thing. I left the actual sleeve.
The spacer.
The shim.
Yeah, the spacer shim.
The shim in
under the dust cone. So when I played it, it destroyed.
Yep. Your gap was a little tight.
Yeah. So it destroyed everything.
Yeah.
I lost final round to him by 2/10. And that round, it would have done, 63-6, somewhere along there.
Oof.
And I lost. He did a 61.9 or something like that, and I did like a 61.7.
Yeah, I think I
so you
remember
made his
talking to
day.
him. I remember talking to him, and he said he
yeah,
got lucky.
It was like right there, and I'm just like, are you kidding me?
So that's when it happened, huh? When you're like, man, I don't want to do this anymore.
That
right?
was part of it, and then I went to Spring Break Nationals the next year, and that's when I'd gotten a little bit louder, and I broke everything. I broke everything down there I could imagine. I broke every sub that I put in that sub. So then the final round when we had it, I went down there. I had 2 Mitch Max subs. I had like a dual 2 and a dual 1 in there just to make it. Yeah. And still did almost a 63. Yeah. Mitch Max subs.
Yeah.
And I was like, where was that at finals last year when I was trying to beat him?
Right.
So, you know, you and that was when it was a point where I was like, I don't have it in me anymore.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, you're looking forward to the World Finals meetup. Bringing your kid, just you, the wife?
No, it'll just be me. My wife will be probably most likely back home.
Babysitting?
Yeah, she'll go with the kid and go see family. And she may go to the football game. I don't know. She's mad at me because I'm trying to go to the show.
You're in trouble.
So we had past guests on the show, and they would name names that who they would want to see, or who's going to the old school meetup. Is there somebody that you hadn't heard yet that's not gonna go, that you want to call out here on the show and say, hey, get up and get over there, let's do this?
Truth be told, I haven't kept up with it that much, so that would probably be a question I couldn't answer. At the end of the day, I think I'm glad Tommy and them's coming. I think Pipo needs to bring his butt up there. He needs to come on. We all just had fun together. I mean, I know Scotty's going to be there. I know Nick and them all is going to be there. We just had fun.
Yeah.
We were all just a good time together. So,
yeah. I would love to see
I think Steve Benton should show up.
Steve Benton should show up? Yeah, calling him out right now. Steve Benton should come on the show and then show up.
Yep, there you go.
I remember he would always be on the mic, and maybe he could be the MC of the old school meetup. And
there you go.
He probably knows everybody who's going to be there, who's going to show up, and knows everything about him. So Steve, if you're watching, hey, we got an MC position open for you, or if not, you just want to hang out, that's cool too.
And Jeffrey had a great idea. So what we're going to do at World Finals is Jeffrey and this was currently planning. So we do fully intend to do this. That doesn't mean we will be able to, but we're going to attempt it, is to have like a everyday post show. So we'll just do like a little post show right there during the after the event, maybe grab a couple of competitors, talk about what we saw for the day, just something short, maybe half hour long or something. Just like a little post-show thing. There's still been, he says it's possible.
It's possible.
There we go. So, but yeah, no, so Jeffrey and I look forward to that. If you guys want to see that, I'll bring my laptop. We can set this up and have the same thing we got going on right here.
We could set up in the hospitality suite where everybody's going to be at, and somebody's having a beer. We can just have people
come by and talk to you while you're there. And just come by and say hey, things like that. People that can't show up and just kind of talk.
Exactly. Yeah. Hey, what's your fondest memory and stuff like that? That'd be the coolest.
Yeah, I think
you gotta wait about halfway or about the end of it when everybody's like drunk.
Really drunk.
Yes.
Then you'll get the real stories.
The real story. Yes. I believe it.
So Jeffrey, you want to hit him with our final question of the day, and then we'll wrap it up?
Sure. Yeah. All right. Willie, what is your definition of a basehead?
Definition of a basehead. Someone that doesn't get a lot of sleep, that likes to compete, and most base heads are competitive driven, that wants to win at all costs, and that means no sleep, Red Bull to no end, and just the loudest thing that you could possibly build at any point in time.
Yep.
And a lot of us have been there and have built some of the loudest cars. So you just got to figure that next step. And I think all these guys now have figured out that next step of where we're at. I don't know what these guys can do to get any louder. I mean, they're stupid loud right now. I mean, what's the next possible thing they can do?
Yeah. Speaking of no sleep, if you guys can see that, let's see there.
What is that?
So that says 3 hours and 20 minutes. I'll read these off. So this is my sleep for the last week. 4 hours, 3 hours, 20 minutes, 3 hours, 20 minutes, 3 hours, 50 minutes, 2 hours, 55 minutes, 3 hours, 40 minutes, 4 hours, 5 minutes, 3 hours, 15 minutes, 4 hours, 35.
Are you building a car right now?
No, so I don't sleep.
Okay.
Well, you're perfect for DB Drag then.
Well, yeah. Like I said, dude, I used to drive to Salinas, which is almost an hour and 45-minute drive from me, and I would back when I was competing, and I would go over there and we'd build cars, and then I would drive home to shower, and then drive to wherever the car show, the DB Drag was the next day. I just, my body doesn't work. I actually bought my Apple Watch because I was like, man, you know what? I feel like I don't sleep very many hours, but, you know, when you tell somebody that, they're like, yeah, sure you don't. You know, you sleep plenty, right. You know, whatever. And so I started tracking. I'm like, obviously I don't sleep that very much. But, yeah, so, I mean, I completely understand the no sleep thing. But I'm not tired from it. You know, I've been this way my whole life, so.
That's good for you. I'm tired all the time.
Well, I don't have any more 2-year-olds running around. My baby's 22. So, yeah, that's my youngest.
I don't know if I'm smart or I'm dumb. I'm the one that waited until I was 36 to get married and have a kid at 40.
Shoot, I've been married for a little over 30 years. Wow. So I've been married since I can remember. So. But yeah, no, you know, it's been, for me, it was the right choice. We got together cruising downtown, and then we, got married. We actually were going to the same high school, didn't even know each other.
Nice.
Ended up, hey, I've seen you before. And, next thing you know, we're hanging out. 2 years later, we're married and having kids. So,
yeah,
you know, we came from the same high school and all that. So that was good. You know, that was the right choice for me. For my family, I waited forever. The average age to have your first kid in my family is about 14 and a half. So me waiting until I was 18.
Are you from Alabama? Are you sure you're not from Alabama?
So we have a lot of Okie family.
South Georgia, somewhere along there?
No, we have a lot of Okie family. Just saying.
Roots.
All right.
So, but anyway. No, that's great. Like I said, that's something unique too. Somebody that doesn't get any sleep. That's definitely a unique one that we haven't heard before. And anybody that's been part of a build or been part of a team can absolutely relate with that. Jeffrey, what you got going? Oh, hey, do you have any sponsors or people you want to throw a shout out to or supporters?
No, I mean, you know, I'm not competing anymore. I just, you know, with Nick and them, they've always treated me like I was family. Even when I'm not competing and doing this, they still always try to include me to going to shows and wanting to be part of that group and part of that family. You know, David Montgomery me and him are still real close, and Gorman and Bo and everybody else. We're all the Criminator guys are really close to each other and helping each other.
They are.
I still get phone calls from them asking me about stuff. I'm like, why are you asking me? Y'all loud. Why y'all asking me?
So since you're completely retired from DB Drag, if somebody wants to follow you on Facebook or something like that, are you on Facebook and stuff? Or
yeah, I have
Instagram?
a Facebook page. You know, it's just my name, and then I have my business, which is RC Auto Works, GA, okay. And then Instagram's the same thing. So I mean, that's about it, really.
Okay. So if you guys want to hit up William and follow what he's doing with his business and whatnot, check him out on those social media. Jeffrey, what do you got going on? I see a big sign behind you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you mean this one?
Yeah.
It's an event I'm hosting. I was actually approached by Smiley Watts. He's a local competitor out here in Texas. It's kind of a fundraising event that he likes to do. He invited me to it last year. We did a DB Drag out there. And you can see it says beard, mustache, and audio competition, right? It's like two of the weirdest things just kind of mashed into one. But it was actually a fun time. When we did our trophies last year, we had to go through their trophy. I think they got trophies for that as well. Like, I think he was telling me what it was like. full beard, what is it, whisker kids, I don't know, veteran beard, and like a bunch of different categories. And it was a fun time. So luckily he asked me to be a part of the show again this year. So we were able to, with the help of Mel Valadez, upgraded to a triple point event. So you can set world records. If you guys need points for finals, hey, get to go into this triple and hopefully get you all qualified and such. We're coming down to the last couple days of the season, or actually September 10th, 11th is going to be the 11th. Last weekend. Yep. Yeah, so it's going down this weekend, Ardmore, Oklahoma. Check it out on dbdragracing.com on the calendar for more details.
Only thing you're missing on there is the date.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. It's going down this weekend, August 20th, Saturday. It's going to be early start time. I think 10, 11 is the roll-in. And okay. Yeah, it should be about till 6 o'clock, I think he said. So.
All right, awesome. And so my next show currently is going to be the 3X down in Fresno. Tell them about the 25 hertz run, amigo. Yeah, Moses decided he was going to try 25 hertz at the last show. So he normally plays 33 in his Cyclone.
Like 30.
Yes. So he tried 25 hertz last show. He was playing a little low. A couple people did. Anyway, so we got a 3X planned September 2nd in Fresno. Moses is upgraded that to a 3X event. He's trying to get Dan Horner to drive all the way across country.
Wow.
He's I want to show you guys what a no-wall van is, or no-wall truck is. So he's been talking to actually all the Incriminator guys, or the DTX guys, Team DTX, right? And trying to get them. He's a member with the DTX guys. He's the West Coast guy, starting with that. So he's got that coming up. And then obviously we have the West Coast finale, which is a 3X on September 11th. We got a location that's going to be at Nyman's shop again. It'll be a day show, Sunday during the day. Smiley Watts just popped on. A little late. We just talked about you. Anyway, so we're going to be at Nyman's shop, and we got over $1,000 right now. That's without anybody purchasing anything through Lots of Watts or Stolman Transport. So if they get more, that'll add to the prize fund. But we're over 1,000 watts added to the prize fund. Entry fee is going to be $70. $35 of that 70 goes to the prize fund also. So we're going to be giving out probably close to $3 or $4 at that show.
Wow.
So that should be really good. I'm looking forward to it. And if it goes successful again this year, we'll consider doing it again next year. So, and we may, I may talk to the guys, and we may see about including the Texas guys into that again. Like
hey, I'm down.
I know you are. And it was a good time, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, and we do an internet competition, Texas going, us going at the same day, 3X event, and,
that's
give out
coast to coast, right? West Coast and the Gulf Coast.
That's right. So, but other than that, yeah, that's everything we got going on. I can't wait till my next show. I got 2 weeks off. That's because Surf City's coming up, not this coming weekend, but the following weekend. Right. So we don't have any shows on the week of Surf City because a lot of the guys from California drive up to Surf City. That's kind of our biggest show on the West Coast right now. That's like Spring Break Nationals. There's that, and then we also have the kick off the season. We have Autorama, which our last Autorama event we had, well, not this year, but the previous year we had it was 160 entries. So, which is a damn good show, and that's only for DB Drag. We didn't have any other additional organizations there.
Wow.
So if you guys want an opportunity to come be part of that, the West Coast guys said they might even drive out for that. Maybe even see some Texas guys, I'm just saying, Malcolm, right? He's the one that does the driving around. Who's your guy?
Julius.
Julius.
Yes. Julius, Mac Johnson.
Yeah.
So, Mel Valadez also.
Valdez, yes.
Yeah, he went from like East Coast finals to West Coast finals, and current world champion. So
yeah, he won both coasts and took away the championship. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. August 20th, 12 to 6 p.m. is what Smiley says.
Yes, August 20th.
There we go. All right, guys. Once again, I want to thank you guys for tuning in this week. It's been a great time. Remember, if you get the chance, support the people that support us. Down below us, Stolman Transportation LLC. Down below Jeffrey, we have lots of Watts. That's lifestyle merchandise. I don't know if he's still got the cups or not, lanyards, hoodies, T-shirts, hats. Anything you buy from him, he adds $5 to the prize fund at West Coast Finale. If you guys want to donate to the podcast, remember we do this audio and visual. It's got some cost involved, but if you guys would like to help support it, right above myself and Jeffrey is our Cash App. Also, it's in the show description. So if you guys want to be it, we appreciate it. We intend to keep this thing free for you guys to view, get more people on. I'm not sure who we're going to have next week. It most likely is going to be Pippo, or it's going to be hold on, let me pull.
Is that how you pronounce his name? I thought it was Peepo.
Peepo. Yeah, it's Peepo.
Peepo.
It's Peepo.
I know it's Peepo.
Yeah, it's Peepo. That's right. Or Scott McRae. So with
cool.
Surf City, talk about the last year I think they gave away $15,000 to the Angels Fund or whatever.
It sounds like you need to really put Steve Benton to the fire.
Well, I would love to put Steve Benton to the fire, and I would love to have him on, and we will make the time available for him. We just need Steve Benton to actually answer his phone or his text or his Facebook messengers. Besides for that, I haven't tried to get a hold of him. I may have even sent him an email.
Oh, okay. All right. So he's ghosted.
Is he still watching now, or?
I can't tell if he's watching now, but everybody can tag him in it. Make sure he hears the end of this. He heard it plenty during the show, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I wanted to ask Steve a question. I think I asked somebody this, but they didn't know what it was. And I thought, since Steve did the Oklahoma Showdown, he would know what's the meaning behind blue popcorn. Have you heard that? Have you heard that phrase, Willie?
No.
I do
Maybe
remember
Steve
it.
could chime in.
Yes, I do remember
something about blue popcorn. What's the meaning was behind that?
Yeah, that'd be a great story for the podcast, right?
Yeah.
Talk about the blue popcorn. Talk about the amount of shows he's done. But anyway, once again, thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate you spending the afternoon with us. William, awesome. Thank you, sir, for being part of what we were doing here. Jeffrey, once again, another great show with you, sir. I do appreciate you guys. If you guys want to catch us again next week, we'll be here same time, same place, Monday at 5:30 p.m. California time, the only time that does matter, despite what anybody else says. But we will see you.
It's past my bedtime.
Come on, we're here.
I know.
Right.
But we will see you guys next week on This Week in Car Audio.
Whoa, whoa.